psychic information today, which will be relevant for me and all those who are watching today in the very moment, but it will also be relevant to you if you find this video later. So, the first thing that I feel is present in the field is a question about stagnation and what that energy is. And I just experienced a week or two of what apparently felt like stagnation. But I've discovered that, in fact, it was just regeneration. Regeneration of my body, of my self-confidence, and of the ability to do things for myself, basically. And this is actually what regenerates you in any case of stagnation, that you come back to the point of doing things for yourself. And for me, doing things for myself means I know that I find joy in that. I know that it brings me peace, and I know that it brings me fulfillment. And I can see myself going out of myself, out of my own space, and kind of getting caught up in wanting to achieve something, wanting to please others, getting lost in any story about why I'm doing something. And that is what creates stagnation in your field, in your creative process, in whatever it is that is guiding you in life. So, for me, for example, now, I'm oriented towards Kailash. I'm oriented towards Devi. And I know that these two energies are guiding me. They are guiding me in my life into the development of new embodiments, new ways of being, and also actually into physically reaching those spaces and ending up at Kailash and ending up in the Devi temple in Nepal. And so I'm oriented towards that, yet I know in some way it is already here. It is already available to me just the way that I am. And those energies are only guiding me if I actually allow them to guide me. And if I'm too much focused on figuring out how I'm going to get there, then I'm not on the energy anymore. So that's a bit of a confusing game for the mind, because we know we're oriented towards something, yet the way to get there is not to try and figure out how to get there. And thus the way to move through the stagnation is to recognize this, that actually it's not within our control how we are to reach any goal in our lives. And this can apply to you right now. Maybe it does apply to your life. Maybe some of you are feeling stagnant in your own creative process. Your life is a creative process. And thus it's good to remember that you can orient yourself towards something, whatever it is that you find relevant or important to achieve in your life. And if you orient yourself there in terms of what your heart wants, in terms of how you feel, inevitably that energy will guide you there. And you can just somehow let go and surrender into that process. So my current question for myself is, how am I going to end up on Mount Kailash? How am I going to get there? And what does it even mean in my life to want to go there and to want to get there? And in some way, I feel like it's just about living. it is just about letting myself have that experience based off of a tiny intuitive knowing that this is where I need to be. And it's funny because this live stream is playing into that. I know that in some way my path towards getting to Kailash is sharing myself, and sharing myself in a teacher energy, in the energy where I use my throat chakra to actually bring through information that is relevant for other people. And so that is what I need to do more. That is what I want to do more. But there is this constant tweaking of the balance of knowing that I'm still doing it for myself and still doing it because I enjoy doing it and because this is what I want for myself, what I want from my life, and what I want to offer for other people as well. But an offering is something that we cannot actually control how it will be received. And it doesn't even matter how it will be received. And so in some way, all of this is just me speaking to myself to ease myself into a state where I feel safe and where I feel good, sitting in front of a camera, talking, sharing my wisdom, sharing my life's experience. What is the artwork on your channel, Heather? It's like colorful art. Did you make that? Oh, and happy birthday! Elle. So, the Immortal Technique, yes, it's actually a compilation of artworks that I made. And you can find me on Instagram. That is where I share most of my art. And I sometimes do live streams on YouTube as well, where I'm basically working on an artwork and, sharing in real time how my artistic process evolves. But the end results you can observe on my Instagram page, and you can find the link in the YouTube description on my channel. And my art is also currently for sale. So if you're interested in buying any of it, or if you know people, I would really appreciate your help and the help of the universe in spreading my art to the right people. And thank you for your question. So I will soon be in Nepal, and I will go to the Linga Bhairavi temple. So those of you who have known me for some time, who have been watching my channel, you know that Sadhguru is the most important presence in my life so far. And I'm saying so far because I'm going to Kailash, which will probably be even more impactful, but we don't know about that yet. So for now, Sadhguru is the being that has transformed my life experience the most. And I cannot explain to you to what extent he has transformed my inner being. It is just for you to experience if you yourself are involved with that being, if you feel called towards him, if he is your guru, basically. And so in Nepal, he established a Linga Bhairavi temple. And Linga Bhairavi is the feminine form that he created. So he created this energy being in the energetic realm. It's a form that can actually do things for people, and I don't exactly know how it functions, but it's like he has created a being that doesn't need a physical form to exist, but it almost operates in the same way. And on another level, this being is a representation of feminine energy in general. So The feminine energy of this universe is the thing that makes everything blossom. It is the life force that creates life. It creates whatever I'm saying right now. It creates your experience of watching this. It is everything that is appearance. It is everything that is growth. It is movement. And Linga Bhairavi, this feminine form, if we manage to connect to that energy and let it become a presence in our lives, it's kind of a gateway to opening our experience of that feminine energy as something that moves us, that moves ourselves. So I want to go to that temple and spend some time there, and I've been called to that place for a long time. I remember watching a video by a friend of mine, Shiva Kaila Shambhu, when he was there, I think 1.5 years ago or something like that. And I saw his eyes, and it just struck me like lightning. Like, this is a place where I really need to be. And I felt huge love, and I just felt enamored with his presence. And he said, I think it's because I spent time in that temple, so I was on the vibe, on the wave of that energy. And so being with that form is going to make my creativity explode. I'm very certain of that, because the feminine form, the creative life force, comes from a surrender to that energy. And I feel the more that I open my heart, the more that I allow myself to be true to who I am in each and every moment, the more that energy can actually pour out of me, can pour out of you, can pour out of us. And my experience with Devi, with this form, is that she is created to open the heart. So opening the heart by connecting to this energy, because it makes you feel safe and cocooned, and it makes you feel like you're worthy of just being yourself. And you're worthy of just being in your own joy, being in your own vibe, and not caring too much about the result, not caring too much about what other people are thinking of you. Just go with whatever is coming to you and seeing that as grace. And hi, people, all of you who said hi. So I allow for now for Devi to become a part of this field, and for the presence of the heart to become a part of this field, and to find all of you. Shout out to Ephraim, just because. And so for all the creatives that are out there watching this, it is important to allow yourself to be seen. All of you who are making art or are in the attempt of trying to create something, and even all of you who are not even conscious of the fact that you're wanting to create something, but you might have some kind of dream, you might have some kind of vision, or even a vague suspicion about what you're supposed to do with your life. If that smallest suspicion is there within you, that you're supposed to go a certain direction, that you have something to offer, or that even it would just be fun for you to offer that. Say, like, quit your job and start a company with two of your best friends because you know you have the combined capacity to do something valuable. Or you want to be a dancer, or you want to be an artist, or you want to just show yourself in the world, whatever way. I've only recently been understanding that it is really important to allow yourself to be seen, and it is also a little bit scary to allow yourself to be seen. Hi, walking water. Thank you for your comments and presence. I appreciate you. So, what else is it that wants to come through in this transmission? So what I'm doing with these live streams is giving myself a micro exposure in being seen, in talking to an audience that I don't know, in even opening up to the comments of people on the internet that I don't know. And I always find it interesting to think about what that means for you on the other side, observing me. Maybe you think I'm some kind of highly confident personality or a crazy woman or just a fun and interesting person to observe. But for me, my experience is still the same. I'm actually just sitting in my room, knowing that I'm transmitting something, talking to some people on the internet, and I can definitely feel your presence. And I can also feel the slight pressure of that. But it is an interesting thing to play with. Because my main value in this life is to be true to myself. And the toughest place to be true to oneself, the hardest place to be true to yourself in a life, in a human life, is in relationship to other people. And this doesn't need to be so. I'm kind of letting go of that idea as well, that it is hard to be true in relation to other people. But it definitely requires some kind of centering, feeling yourself, being aware of me, myself, and I, being aware of what is going on in my body, being aware of what it is that is actually true for me in this moment, and letting myself ride that wave. Thank you. I respect you all too. And I have these quotes on my wall. I'm going to show them to you. I hope you can read from afar. This has been my life force in the last weeks. My only job is to be myself. I'm the perfect answer to every situation always. I'm pure love and I radiate into the field. Ephraim. So my only job is to be myself. What if our only job in this lifetime is actually just to be ourselves? That would be such a relief, wouldn't it? To just be and do and say whatever comes to mind in any given moment and accept that that is perfectly fine. And even understand that this is ultimately what we are going to be paid for. Because the universe wants us to be ourselves. Maybe that is just something that I'm trying to convince myself with in order to be myself. But on the other hand, I do feel like it's very true, and I do feel like that is what makes me happy. And happiness, joy, is what brings you into alignment with abundance. Walking water. You have a problem like myself. You don't want to look crazy or ugly. Why do you think? Why did you say his name? He didn't deserve. Why are you to judge that someone is undeserving of me saying his name? And also, an insight that I had while I was running today is the way to succeed in anything is just to allow ourselves to fail. And for me, that's such an important aspect of my life, that I need to be able to allow myself to fail and to allow myself to be imperfect and to allow myself to just try something. And for example, now, like I'm in this live stream, I'm watching how many people are watching me, I'm watching the comments, like everything is in some way, it is there as, how to say, as a measurement of whether what I'm doing is valuable or not. Because we have goals. We want to get to Kailash. So we want to be paid for what we do. And we want to grow an audience. So we want to get comfortable with expressing in our truth. And in that measurement of, are people watching? Is someone willing to pay for my painting? There is this idea that my value depends on that. But I've come to know that this is actually not the case. And that I'm willing to believe that my value is independent of what anything else or anyone else on this planet thinks of me, wants to offer me. And thus I'm withdrawing all of my energy into myself once again. Doing things because I want to be doing them. Enjoying myself. And still playing with the micro exposures, with crossing the boundaries of what feels comfortable, what feels like being in my own zone. And just trying. Following the impulses. If it doesn't feel like something works, okay, whatever. Next time maybe it will. Or maybe it won't. Maybe it will never. But it doesn't actually matter that much. And thank you. So I am inviting some more settlement in my body. Some more slowness. And I open up my channel. To whatever is relevant in this moment for this audience now or later. So another thing that I find interesting about these kinds of practices and about live streaming and transmission is the field. And there's this word that has been with me for quite some time, the grid. A grid is a formation of nodes that are intelligent, between which there are communications happening. So you can imagine like dots and lines between them. And the grid as a whole is the intelligent being. So the nodes, they carry intelligence. The intelligence flows through them, but they're not really existing independent of the grid. And I feel that when we're doing something online, in online spaces, and I'm speaking to you right now, that is actually what is going on. So I allow myself to tap into our shared field, and I'm just a node of intelligence bringing through information that then again travels through you in some way that is relevant to you as a specific node. And by that information traveling through you, something in your life experience might change. But on the level of the grid, if you observe that happening, it is not so much about your personal life experience changing. It is even more about the information that you are bringing through because of what traveled into you. So in some way, your responses to me, the information that travels into me, is just sparking other information to enter this field. And maybe, possibly, it is not entirely within my control what happens with that information. And it is not even relevant for me to know because it is beyond me and it is even beyond you. And it's just in the sharing that our life experience changes. But then again, we can attune to higher frequencies and we can attune to information that is beneficial to the growth of consciousness in our reality, in our shared grid, in our shared network of intelligence and understanding. And we are wanting to bring more consciousness and awareness into this world. And if you're watching this, probably you are one of the people who have some level of awareness and understand that it is valuable and important for us to evolve and to bring that information into the world for other people to wake up and to be influenced. So on some level, it is beyond us. This communication is beyond us. How the information that I transmit comes into you, how it travels through you, how it happens, and what it makes happen to your life and to the people around you because of the information that you then bring out. In some way, it is beyond us and beyond me. And in some way, we can also choose to hold or open up to specific information, to specific frequencies. We have to give the sound more value than what we see. What do you mean by the sound? I do agree, actually, that we have to give sound more value than what we see. And for me, it inspires something that again ties back to the creative process and about the fact that the sound is heard, but it's not necessarily understood. Whereas what we see might be more mental. And so if we give more attention to the sound, it's almost like we open up to things traveling through us, because that's what sound does, right? It's just vibration. We can feel it, we can let ourselves be impacted by it, we can feel that it does something to our state of being, We can feel that our body adjusts to it. And for example, tonight I might go, if it so happens, to a psytrance rave. And if it so happens that I end up there, definitely that experience will change my entire way of being. Because those frequencies of sound, they will shake my body, and my body will start shaking along with them. But it is so direct. It's not information that I need to understand, that I need to mentally absorb. And what we see is actually also not anything that we need to mentally understand or absorb, but we can. And I think maybe we have more of a tendency to interpret, to make sense, to find symbols in that. Two tears came. Oh wow, so that is why you want me to pay attention to the sound. Shiva! I'm happy to see you here. And I'm happy to see myself here doing this. It's a joyful experience. Okay. Are there any questions? Anything more? Or shall I just continue feeling into what I want to talk about? So, I want to go to this psytrance rave tonight. And I want to be a full week in my house next week only creating art. Because I feel that I'm in touch with an energy that is wanting to pour out fantastic creations that are beyond me, not in my control. And I have created the freedom in my own life to really just do this. To just take that space for myself, to not do anything else except for exactly that which I'm desiring to do in each and every moment. And I'm inviting the abundance to come through as I prioritize myself and my well-being and my needs. And I prioritize my joy and my inner baby child, my purity. And it is not about them anymore. That is a phrase that has also finally landed in me as a truth. I grew up in situations with lots of projections onto me, and I think that is true for everyone. But I've been really forced to confine to many very limiting situations and circumstances socially. I've experienced social exclusion in various contexts and people shaming me, and just having to be polite, having to be correct, having to be intelligent, and having to be perfect in all kinds of ways in order to find some sense of belonging and intimacy. And this has created so much turmoil in myself for such a long time. And this feeling of being so limited and scared of saying whatever, like scared of saying anything almost. And even when I'm creating, sometimes a part comes up, and it is not necessarily the part that is scared of expressing or being perceived in a certain way, but it is a part that is going against. It is wanting to break out. And the breaking out energy is actually not the energy that I want to be in anymore, because I just want to accept that I'm free. So I don't need to go against anyone. I don't need to fight any perceptions anymore, and it is not about anyone else anymore. I'm just doing this for myself, because I trust myself, because I know that I have something to offer, because I know that I can help people, because I know that it is joyful for me. So my only job is to be myself. I'm gonna get paid, and I'm getting paid already, actually, to be myself, to do whatever I enjoy. I create the space for myself to just do what I like, to do what I enjoy, and to see myself flourishing. I take care of my inner child, I take care of my needs, I take care of my emotions, my heart, my purity. And it is not about anyone else anymore. And I feel that this is probably the rules for any creative person to be successful in their creations. And successful doesn't mean like the consequence of being in that space, of giving yourself permission to be soft and gentle with self, with your emotions, opening the space for you to just be creative, allowing yourself to be seen, and all of those things. But most importantly, just doing it for yourself, doing it for the joy of self, and then still exposing yourself to the world. The consequence of that is success. It is. Because you allow people to see your soul. And the soul is what wants to be seen. The soul is what wants to be experienced by anyone, even if they're not aware of it. That is why you cried tears walking water after closing your eyes and listening to my voice. Because some part of your soul recognized itself in me. Am I wearing a mask if I communicate? Yes, I get that, but it's a loop. So this person is asking, are you wearing a mask if you communicate? We have to have an ego to communicate, right? My problem is that I don't want to wear a mask. But if I try to communicate without a mask, I end up in fear. And there's two things. So one thing is we don't actually have to have an ego to communicate, depending on how you think of the ego. So what channeling means is you are allowing yourself to be a vessel for things beyond your ego. So you can actually allow other energies to speak through you. For example, the Bashar channeling is someone who is connecting directly to an extraterrestrial or a higher energetic form. And he's just fully allowing his body to be used by that form or energy, and for that information to come through into the grid, into the shared field. And what I have experienced and what has been very significant in my own life is this thing about the grid and speaking from the field. So there is a space in my own consciousness where I can sense what is relevant in the field. And I feel like I'm over-intellectualizing this now, so I'm just going to quit talking about that. But I trust that in some way the answer to your question will come up. But so it's important to know that you can actually speak from a different place. And your most truthful, vulnerable expression is truth. So in each and every moment, we can ask ourselves, what does feel true to me right now? What feels like the most truthful response to the situation? And usually, if we have some sense of attunement to ourselves, if we have some sensitivity and we have developed the right type of awareness through meditation, We're silent enough within ourselves to hear an answer, and it will be an answer that is not immediately relevant to the mind. Sometimes the mind is able to make sense of it, but most of the time it is not immediately relevant to the story you're already living. So what that means is there is a part of your mind, and it is always in operation. There is a voice, rather, in your mind, which is always wanting to speak, that doesn't know yet where its own expression is going to lead. And it is always truthful, it's not a mask, because the mind doesn't even understand where it's going to lead. It's the newness of this voice that scares you. Because it's a jump into the unknown, to speak from that place of authenticity. And we can explain this in tons of ways. We incarnate in life circumstances that are usually the opposite side of the spectrum as to what we want to experience in our life, our pre-birth incarnation. Because being in those circumstances is going to create the desire for that opposite experience. But it also comes with the fact that being in those circumstances creates all the programmation, all the mental patterns, and all the karmic substance that is standing in the way of having that experience directly. But we're still in touch with the soul. And the soul is trying to guide you into a different experience. But your mind doesn't know what will happen if you actually allow that voice to speak. And what will happen is you'll end up meeting yourself and finding that your truest desires come into fruition. But the mind will never, never, never be able to foresee this. And I can share one moment of my own. I have been in a group practice where this is the whole setup. So we sit in a circle. We allow the field to come into our awareness. And we speak from the field. Or, in other words, we speak from our most authentic self. And this most authentic self is a reflection of what is needed in the field, of what is wanting to evolve and happen in the field. And at some point I sat there, and so many people were watching me, and the words that came out of me were like, or the words that came into my mind were, it feels so good to be seen. And this is the first time I realized that this is actually a huge desire that I have, that I never felt seen in my life, that I always felt repressed, because I never showed myself the way I actually am, because I was scared to be authentic, to say what I really feel, to say what I really think about someone, for tons of reasons. But essentially the main reason is because we don't know how that's going to play out. We don't know. People might be accepting of us, they might not be accepting of us, but we've never tried. And the mental may play out a scenario where it doesn't work out, because that's been our experience. It's been our experience that we are authentic, we express something, and it doesn't work out well. We're not well received, we're being rejected. So that is why we shut down in that pattern of changing ourselves, putting on a mask, talking whatever people want to hear, not being true to what we feel in the moment, not being true to what the heart is actually saying. And then we end up in relationships that feel draining, and they feel like a drag. Even if we're not fully aware of it yet, even if we're not fully awake to our own ultimate nature, some part of us always feels like this is maybe not so exciting. It doesn't hold the same juice. Safety never holds the juice. And the trick is, some people might reject us if we become authentic, but many will not. Many will actually like us. And that is the duality of showing yourself to the world and being in self-exposure. You might get a lot of hatred. And many people will project things onto you. They don't recognize you anymore. What the hell are you doing? Why are you talking like this? This is not you. They think it's not you because, they know you in a different setting. They know you in a different pattern. They know you in a different self-presentation. But with the darkness, and it's not actually darkness, it's just confusing and, it is confrontational for other people to see someone change a lot. But with these projections, and possibly the hatred of people who don't resonate with your authentic expression, also comes the fact that you're finally visible to the people who are meant to see you, to the people who want to receive you, to the people who like you. And you'll finally be able to like yourself, which is even more important. And that is the primary choice. Will you like yourself? Will you like yourself enough to be visible as who you are? And trust that even if all the people in the world reject you, it is still enough for you to like yourself. Enough to finally give yourself permission to just be yourself. And just see where it goes. And the other clue is that once you have decided this, that you want to express as who you are, in each and every moment, true to yourself, true to that exploration of life, that itself is giving you the fuel to continue doing it. And all of the other things kind of become irrelevant. And you get the rewards, you get the connection, you get the abundance, you get the joy, you get the people who see you, the people who want to buy your products, the people who relate to you. But the primary reward is just that being yourself is what gives you energy. Because being yourself is connection to the ultimate. Authenticity is the key to divinity. And divinity is an infinite source of energy. So tapping into whatever is real for you in this moment, whatever feels alive, vulnerable, exciting, on the edge, new, something you don't know yet. That is the divine speaking through you, wanting to fall into the grid, wanting to transform the nature of life. And that is the nature of life itself, ever transforming. Through you, through your own awareness, through the game of always being on the edge and sharing yourself in authenticity, sharing whatever comes to you, whatever you feel, whatever you experience. And thus you're like the princess in the fairy tale, being walked through the earth, always in a genuine response to life, responsiveness to life. Not here, from here, straight from the heart. Just going to light up my screen a little more. Yes. So, I feel like there is one last message or final note. wanting to come through. And it is a personal one, but apparently in some way it will relate to whatever is needed to be spoken into the field and relevant to other people. Which is that I want the funds to reach Kailash in May. And of course, if it may be that this is the divine plan, if that is what Kailash intends for me. But if I'm true to myself, it feels like that is what ought to happen. And so I appreciate all donations. I appreciate all support. I even appreciate all creative inspiration on how that should happen. Because I've decided that by the 16th of April, I shall move to Nepal. And right now, there is €0 on my bank account. So it is a mystery how that is going to happen, but I know that it will, and it is 44 on the clock, the number of abundance. So I trust, in some way, my wishes shall be granted. And if they are not granted, still they are. Because I keep myself in touch. Oh, it's 4:44 there. Wow. Because I keep myself in touch with the energy of Kailash. So I know that ultimately I will end there in the highest alignment, in the highest timeline, in the best possible way for me to end there. And it's interesting because I hear myself saying all these things, and there is a little bit of ache on my heart. Which signifies that I'm not being fully honest. That I'm not fully allowing myself. Go to Kathmandu. Yes, that is exactly the plan. I want to go to the Devi temple in Nepal. And it feels like Kailash is a natural consequence of being in Nepal. But maybe, potentially, I'm still meant to go at some other point in time. But I do indeed intend to go to Kathmandu, be in the Devi temple, and just explode in creative energy. Because in my heart, I am an artist. I came into this world not to be a logical person, and I enjoy this. I enjoy speaking about things in a way that people can access and understand on the mental level as well. But my strength, where I feel most like myself, is actually in the unhinged, wild, illogical expression of life. So I think it's time for me to end it here, because I said this will be the final note. So I'm going to keep myself to it. And I will just wait until we hit 55, which is in 10 seconds, because then 5 people are watching, there's 5 thumbs up, and